Hey, welcome to the pregame blitz. It's Tuesday night, and there's always kind of shenanigans going on around here. I'm flying solo by myself tonight. One of these days, I'm gonna win the $1 billion Powerball and have the ability to hire a producer because I think that's what I need to keep me on track and all the things that need to happen before we actually go live on the air. So the thing that happened, I guess, if you guys have been watching the show every single week, you always, I guess, expect by now something technical to break down. Now this week, the technical breakdown was the host himself. As you probably saw, the countdown timer is going down, and all of a sudden, the sound goes out in my earpiece, and I'm thinking that, my equipment's gone out, that something's wrong with the mixer board. I'm scrambling, things like that. And I look up on the screen and the timer has finished. And that's why, that's why I couldn't hear anything because there was nothing to hear. So anyway, it's Tuesday night and it's time for the pregame blitz. And I appreciate you guys. Joining us every single week. I'm flying solo by myself tonight. I guess that's what solo means nowadays. So my buddy, other super fan, Cole Moore, gave me a shout this afternoon and said that he just can't make it onto the show tonight. But you know what they say in show business? The show must go on. And that's exactly what we're going to do because it's the end of the regular season. This week, guys, can you believe it? This week is the very end of the regular season. So we waited all year for football season to get here. And it's finally here. And it just zooms by because here we are, the 1st of November. You know what that means, right? It means that Christmas is right around the corner, which also means for us, unfortunately, as a high school football fan, it's almost over. So if you are a high school football fan, you find yourself in one of three camps tonight. Either one, your team is waiting to find out who their first round playoff opponent is going to be. Or you could be in a camp that says your team is fighting for its playoff life this very week, right? Friday night, it's either win or stay home. Or the third camp you could find yourself in is your team is basically going through the motions this last game of the year, waiting for basketball season to start, because there is no way that your team can make the playoffs. Now, that's the reality. I hate to put it that way, but that's the harsh reality that every high school football fan finds themselves in, right? So it's reality. It is what it is. So anyway, I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. We've got a guest. We've got a guest that's going to be calling in at about 7:15. It's a special guest. If you've noticed that I've got on my Berrien High. Can you believe it still fits? I don't know if I put some shoulder pads on, it would fit or not, right? So this is my Berrien High jersey from way back when, over 30 years ago. I was telling Cole Moore about it, and he was making fun of the old mesh style, the old mesh style jerseys that we all wore back in the day. But I don't care. It's my jersey. I was number 68, and I wear it proudly on Fridays during school. They probably still do this. I don't know. But Fridays during school, all the players would wear our jerseys. We'd go to the pep rally at the end of the day, and we would sit there on the stage in the gym in front of the entire student body. The band would be over there playing. And man, oh man, those were fun times. Guys, we were the kings of school, weren't we? We were the king of school. And if you've ever been a football player in high school, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Something else that I remember that we did back then was we sold every Friday, the cheerleaders sold spirit ribbons. I think that's what they were called. Do they still do that? Do high schools still sell spirit ribbons? I can't remember if they were like 50 cents or $1. They might have been a quarter. I can't remember. But they made a pretty good amount of money as a fundraiser because every Friday, just about every kid in school bought one of those things and wore it all day long. I don't know if they wore them to the game that Friday night, but anyway, those were fun times. So for Halloween over the weekend, I went to a Halloween party and I had to wear my Berrien Rebel jersey, right? I had my eye black on. If guys, that if you were Facebook fans with me, you saw I posted a picture with my jersey on, my Berrien football hat, my eye black on, went to a Halloween party, had a great time. And that wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for Tim Alligood and those Berrien Rebels. How about them Rebels? First winning season since 1995. Now, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of work because Berrien's not in the playoffs yet. Even though they're guaranteed a winning season, or at least a winning regular season, there's no guarantee that they're in the playoffs yet. And we'll explain that as we go along in our show tonight. Now, 7:15, I'm expecting one of the Berrien Network guys, Scotty Sumner. They do a great job with live streaming. Sometimes when they live stream, when they're all when they're doing away games, they'll do an audio only broadcast. So they always do a great job. Scotty Sumner with the Berrien Network will be calling in about 7:15 to talk about their magical season. Like I said, first winning season since 1995. So I've got my home jersey. I want to show you something else that I brought along as a prop for the show tonight. But before I do that, before I get so carried away, let me go ahead and thank our sponsors. Pepsi Bottling Company of Valdosta, guys. You know, it's Christmas season. What am I talking about? You don't need a season to drink Pepsi. This is a year-round drink, right? Whether it's Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Rockstar, Mountain Dew Energy, Mountain Dew Spark. Listen, if you're going to have people over to your house on Thanksgiving and the Christmas season, then you know it's going to take a lot of work. You're going to need a special extra spark. Mountain Dew Spark could be your drink to put you over the edge, to give you that little boost of energy and confidence that you need to pull your social gathering off. So we want to thank Pepsi Bottling Company. We also want to thank A Shade of Perfection. Before the Christmas season, before Thanksgiving, I don't know when the deadline is, but guys, if you want to go ahead and get your window treatments in and get them in place, installed before the Christmas season starts, you need to go ahead and give Tim Neesmith a call at A Shade of Perfection, 229-251-3479. We also thank Josh and Justin at the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta. They are your certified headache medicine specialists, offering a variety of migraine and back pain treatments. Thank you so much to Josh Batson and Justin Haskin. We thank Kyle Conger at White Oak Investment. If you need a guy that gives you a steady hand at the wheel in a time of financial turmoil, up and down, all the time, Kyle can be your guy. White Oak Investment. Give Kyle a call if you need that kind of service. We thank Matthew Godwin at Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road. Speaking of the holidays, now's the time to upgrade your phone. If you're in the market for an iPhone 14, iPhone 14 Pro, or an Android, maybe you're an Android guy, maybe you need some accessories or small business accounts, Matthew Godwin at Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road can certainly help you out. Freedom with Steve Nichols is one of our latest sponsors. He's been on board for 2-3 months now, and he runs a Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. political show. And he will get you thinking. He will get you thinking, whether you're on the right, left, in the middle, he will get you thinking. So if you haven't given him a try yet, do it tomorrow morning. Freedom with Steve Nichols. He can be seen on Facebook, right there, Freedom with Steve Nichols, or on a Twitch channel called Freedom Networks with an X. Okay. And finally, we want to thank our friends at the Commercial Banking Company. Guys, if you need a hometown banker that knows you by name, and there's a lot of value to be said in that, whether you need a personal checking account, savings account, CDs, IRAs, auto loans, mortgage loans, or business loans, the folks at Commercial Banking Company can help you. You don't have to live in Valdosta to bank with these folks, right? But they are the hometown bankers, and we thank you so much for sponsoring our program tonight. So I was telling you before Scotty calls in a couple minutes here, Wesley McDade says he's pretty sure that his high school jersey has shrunk by now. Well, I guess a lot of players get their home colored jersey to take with them. I don't know if they still do that, but they did that for us when we were leaving. And so I also have my away jersey, but check this out. I don't know if you can see that right there. It's got some stains on it, and there's some stitching right there. There's a quick story behind that. The stains are blood stains, my blood stains, and the stitching is where they actually cut the jersey off of me when I was lying in an emergency room. Cut my helmet off, cut my jersey off, because they didn't know if I had a severe neck injury or not, because I was totally knocked out. I was unconscious. My parents were going crazy. My mom's watching tonight. She can probably remember this story. And so, obviously I'm better, right? But one of the things that I will never, ever forget, and one of the reasons I like this game so much is I'm going to throw a name out there. And this name is not going to mean anything to 90% of you guys. But for you Berrien guys out there, you'll know this name, Steve Lassiter. He was a good friend of mine in high school, fellow football player. And he was the only guy, the only fellow player to come visit me in the hospital when I had to stay overnight due to this injury. And, 30 plus years later, I will never, ever, I've never forgotten Steve and that night. So anyway, Steve Lassiter, if you're watching, thank you, buddy. I appreciate your friendship. We've kind of lost touch over the years. I see him at some reunions. I've seen him at other Berrien games that we've all gone back to. But Steve Lassiter, one of the good guys, and I appreciate you, buddy. Still think about that you visiting me in the hospital quite often. So, guys, if you're a player out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you play for your school, sometimes you play for your coach, but 100% of the time, you play for your buddies, the ones that line up next to you, shoulder to shoulder. And oftentimes, that's who you play for. Late in the fourth quarter, when the going gets tough, that's who you're playing for. The buddy right next to you, because you don't want to let the team down. You don't want to let him down. He's doing his job. He expects me to do my job. And if I don't, the team's not going to have a good outcome. So that's my memory of some of my memories of my high school football days. So congratulations to the Berrien Rebels for that. My mom is a. Hey, caller, welcome to the PreGame Blitz. What's on your mind?
What's going on, Larry? This is Scotty Sumner.
Scotty, we were just talking about the Berrien Rebels and our playing days. I was a Berrien graduate, 1988. What year did you graduate, Scotty?
1989.
Okay, you were a junior on that team when I was a senior.
Yes. Well, no. Actually, I have to admit, a lot of people know this.
Oh, you stepped down.
I stepped down on my sophomore year. I played my freshman and sophomore year, and stupidly, I stepped away.
Now, so I know exactly what you mean. When you say stupidly, that's a decision that you regret, isn't it?
Yes, I do. And that's one of the ones actually, I'm gonna say I am a second generation, or I was, with my son coming up and playing. That made a second generation of us,
right.
And that helped me keep him playing, the fact, of, hey, I regretted, not playing my junior and senior years, with Berrien County, and that's something, any kid that is listening, if you're even thinking about it, you will regret it. You just do not realize at this moment how much you will regret if you give it up right now. I mean, you don't realize now, but you will.
Yeah, exactly right, man. Scotty, back in those days, I was probably 5'8", 5'9", 170 pounds of nothing, that kind of stuff. Had a couple of major injuries in high school, including neck injury. And so when I went to VSU, I had this idea, even though my mom didn't want me to do it, my doctor didn't want me to do it, I had this idea to walk on to the VSU football program. And I met with the head coach and I told him my story. He says, yeah, come on down. We allow walk-ons to try out for the team, that kind of stuff. And man, I was one afternoon away from suiting up as a VSU Blazer. And my mom talked some sense into me and said, you remember what your doctor told you? You are risking being paralyzed.
Yeah.
If you, and man, that is I don't want to say I regret not going out for the team, but I feel bad that I never did that. Although I did have a medical reason not to. So to emphasize your point, that once you play football and you walk away from it, you regret not following through with it.
Yeah. You can't get it back no matter what you do. You can think about it and everything else. I read somewhere on a post somewhere on Facebook, you can play pickup basketball games. You can play in a rec softball leagues and stuff like that. But once you quit playing football, you quit. 90% of the people do not play college, do not play pros. So once you finish your high school, career, it's pretty much over. So
that's right. Now, since we're going way back, one of the reasons I wanted you to call in tonight, because it's been a long, long time since our Berrien Rebels have had a bona fide winning season. But Scotty, that has changed this year. How does that make you feel?
It really has. Oh man, I am so proud to be part of the Berrien Rebels at all. And you're like me. I see you wearing your colors and everything else. I've always been proud of being a Rebel anyway.
That's right.
But now even more. You walk through the community, everybody, is talking about the Rebels, talking about finally having a winning season. They're upbeat. You hear people talking about wanting to come to the games and things like that, which just makes me proud, for the community, but for the boys, for the young men, excuse me, and for the football program, and Coach Alligood, got it pointed in the right direction there.
That's right. Now, Scott, I got to admit something. Over the last couple of years, I was a doubter. I was one of those guys, and I don't mind admitting that I'm wrong now. But over the last couple of years, I was very critical of Coach Alligood, because up until this year, he had won one region game in the 4 years that he was been there. And I called Doug Nix. I couldn't I guess, hold back my fury anymore. It's like, Doug, what are you doing? We got to make a change. And he tried to calm me down. He says, Larry, we're going in the right direction. You got to give him time. It's been a long time since Berrien has had a winning program. He's working as hard as he can. He's going to take a lot of work. And I didn't want to hear any of that. But dang it, Scotty, tonight, I'm happy to admit that I was wrong, and Berrien has a winning season.
Yeah, Berrien has a winning season for the first time since, like you said, 1995, and I think first time since 1994 that will have 6 wins in a season, which is just unheard of in Berrien County.
That's right.
Which and you have to give it to Coach Alligood. And I'm not going to say I was to the point you were, but when I heard we were hiring Coach Alligood, is he the right fit for us? That's always the question. But I will say, he was the right fit for us. He is the right fit for us. And I'll even go so far as to say we were to the point, and I've said this several times in the community, that, we have to quit 2 years and hiring a new coach, 2 years and hiring a new coach.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point, because how many head coaches has Berrien had? Can you even count them?
Well,
That's
let's see here. Yeah. You had Coach Pilcher, Coach Cribb, Coach New. That's 3 off the top. And the last, since in the recent times since Coach Alligood took over, and I'm missing one. I know I am.
Listen,
Coach Armstrong.
This is going to shock you. I just looked it up. Since 1995, the Berrien Rebels have had 11 coaches.
Yeah, I mean, just if you do the math, I don't know what the math is there, but you're talking about 3 years. It's hard for, and honestly, you got to say for any of those coaches, you name them all, it doesn't matter which one. If you don't give them time to build a program, they can't.
That's right.
I mean, that's just common sense. That's, and I like the fact that our administration has finally noticed that and give Coach Alligood, the chance to build the program.
That's right. Let me ask you a question along. It's a different kind of question. Okay.
Okay.
So be a good sport about it. So, when I do this show not just about, but every week, this one, and on my Thursday night show, the Viking Nation show, where I just focus on Lowndes, because that's where we live now. But whether it's this show or the other show, we always talk about what it takes for a program to have sustained winning at the highest level. And I've come up with a formula. And I'm gonna run this by you. You tell me if you agree or disagree. There's no right or wrong answer here. So
Okay.
in my mind, a program to have sustained winning has to basically have 4 strong pillars in place. You got to have, one, administration support. I mean, the administration, whether it's the Board of Education, the principal, the AD, everybody has got to be sold out and all in for the program. So you got to have strong administration support. You also have to have good coaching, right? You don't have to have great coaching. You just have to have good coaching. You got to have good athletes that are coachable. You don't have to have superstars, but you have to have good athletes that are coachable. And the last one is you have to have a community that rallies around their program and is all in as well. Would you agree with that? You got to have 4 of those pillars, and all 4 have to be in place to have long-term sustained winnings. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I mean, honestly, if you don't have all of that together, you can have 3 of the 4 and really not be successful at all.
Right.
But if you don't have all 4, and the other thing I would say is you need accountability. If you want to add a 5th one to it, you need accountability. And that starts with the young men on the football team. Because as much as you want to blame the coach or the referees or anything like that, I can't remember a coach that missed a tackle. Can't remember that. I actually umpire baseball a little bit, and I tell a lot of the coaches, after the game and stuff like that, when they want to argue a ball or a strike or a missed call, how many errors did you have and how many missed calls did you think I had?
Yeah.
So you need to be accountable for what's going on, so you can fix that. You really have to be accountable for it. And if you have all that in place, you will have a successful program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, talking about success on the field this year, Berrien is currently 6-3. So we've got a winning season in the books, but there's still some work to be done. So there's no guarantee that Berrien is actually in the playoffs yet, right?
No, we are not. We are not in the playoffs yet.
What's it going to take? So you got a pretty tough team coming to Nashville on Friday night for senior night. So you got the Fitzgerald Purple Hurricane coming to town. Is that a must win, or can Berrien get some help if they fall to Fitzgerald?
Yeah, it's not a must win. There's a couple of different scenarios, and my son Logan, which is the sideline reporter for us with the network, is a lot better at this than I am. But I think there's 3 different scenarios. The first one would be if we beat Fitzgerald, we are in. We will get a 4 seed. We will be the 4 seed in our region. If by chance we beat Fitzgerald and Worth beats Cook, we will be a 3 seed.
Okay.
In the playoffs. And then the other scenario is if we lose to Fitzgerald and Cook beats Worth, we will be a 4 seed.
Gotcha. Okay. So in 2 of those scenarios, we really need Cook to beat Worth, don't we?
Right. We need Cook to beat Worth. That is, and that's something we don't control. And and you always say, you want to be in control of your own destiny. So, the biggest thing is for us to come out and play what we've been playing all year.
That's right.
Play a good game against Fitzgerald and try to get the win. That's what we need to do.
Well, Fitzgerald is not a super team, although they're a very good team. Berrien has played a lot of good teams this year, so I like our chances. But Berrien has got to play 4 strong quarters. So let me ask you, as good as Coach Allagood has done this year, does Berrien have the depth to go 4 quarters against a pretty strong Hurricane team?
Yes. I believe we do. I believe we do have the depth to go 4 quarters with Fitzgerald. We've done it all year long with all these teams.
Okay.
The couple of things that's happened for us this year, and as well as I do playing football, all those years, you need a couple of breaks. That's what you need. In Dodge County, we got a couple of breaks, a couple of muff punts, that we actually recovered in Dodge County territory, which kind of helped us. and that's what we need against Fitzgerald.
Absolutely.
Not saying that we can't beat Fitzgerald. We can, but you need the ball to bounce your way, and it's about, just getting the breaks during the game, because, I've heard several people say they listen to the Cook County radio show, and talked about how the game against Cook County, if we don't have 7 turnovers and 2 onside kicks lost against Cook County, that's a different game. I'm not saying we win that game. I'm saying it's a different game. It's not a 17-point game.
Well, so, best of luck to the Rebels. I will actually be there Friday night to watch Berrien take down Fitzgerald, because I've got a nephew that is a senior in the Rebel Regiment, and I can't wait to watch him be presented on that field with his mom, Denise. And so I'm sure we'll see you there Friday night, man.
Yeah, a lot of times I do see you there. I see you there and Ellen there all the time. So I try to speak when I get the opportunity, but a lot of times I'm either in the booth or on the sideline, so I don't get that opportunity. But I do like the fact that you'd still come to Berrien County and come to the football game.
Absolutely. That's my home, man. Can't walk away from my Rebel Nation. Listen, one of the cool things about going back to a Berrien game is the new facilities. Oh my gosh, they are nice.
They are. They done everything they could with this new stadium. The new stands, the field is great, the facility is great. They went all out with this, and they're still doing it now. I don't know if you've been to Berrien County games, any of the Berrien County games this year, but we're building a new track, a new soccer field, new indoor hitting facility for the baseball team. I think new tennis courts in the old boneyard that me and you remember practicing.
That's right.
So they are going all out, and I believe they're doing something at the middle school too, but I have not heard what they're building at the middle school. My guess would be a new weight room and workout facility.
I gotcha, man. A lot of good stuff happening on the campus of Berrien High School and really the Berrien County school system in general. Berrien has a really, really good school system. Ask any of the school administrators around this area. Ask the Coastal Plains RESA. The Berrien school system always ranks one of the tops in this area. So congratulations to Berrien academically and now football wise as well.
And I also don't forget, like say, middle school softball. I believe we were region champs this year. And let me see, 2 or 3 years ago. And I know my math's wrong on that, but we also played for the state championship in baseball. So
I got you.
So I mean, it's happening all around Berrien County academically and athletically.
Gotcha. Listen, I'm about to give you the final word before we say goodbye to you tonight. But listen, I need you to do me a favor, Scotty. When you see Coach Allagood at the game this week, make sure that he gets this offer from me. I want to take him and his wife. I think his wife is Brittany, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to take Tim and Brittany out to dinner once the season is over, just to show my appreciation for what he has done to restore the pride in the big Rebel Nation. So do me a favor, just make sure you get that offer to him, because I want to show my appreciation, and this is how I do it. I just want to make sure they're taken care of, because they've done a lot to restore the pride in this Rebel heart.
Well, I don't mind doing that whatsoever, but I do want to touch on one thing now that hasn't been mentioned. And I figure everybody knows it.
I think I know what you're about to say.
And I'll let you lead into it. It's your show.
Are you talking about Josiah Davis's 7?
I am talking about Josiah Davis. His 7 touchdown or kickoff returns for touchdowns this year. That I do not know. It has to be a state record, for Georgia. But if he scores one more, that will tie the national record for a year.
Man, listen, and I would love to see him do that Friday night on top of taking down Fitzgerald and clinching a playoff spot. How about that in 1 year?
Yes, that's it's unheard of in any kind of high school, collegiate, or pros or anything like that. But he has been amazing this year, and you got to give credit to the coaching staff. special teams coach and the kids on the field, you know, they're setting it up well, you know, and the blocks are there, and he's done a great job with the ball.
Yeah. So final question for you is, you know, after a winning season like this, especially if you haven't had one for a long, long time, what do you think this does for the program? Does it propel it in any way, or is it just starting all over next year? What does this do for the Rebel program?
I really hope it does, you know, and that's one of them questions you'll know next year.
Yeah.
I think we have quite a few seniors this year, and I think it's kind of defensively based. A lot of our seniors are on defense. Josiah Davis will be back next year along with DeMar Riley, and a lot of those big guys that are, you know as well as I do, unnamed offensive linemen.
Yeah.
You know, the unsung heroes
That's
that
right.
actually do the blocking. You know, a lot of them guys will be back. So offensively, we'll be pretty good next year. You know, it's defensively, we're going to need some of these sophomores and stuff like that to step up next year and really, you know, see what we can do defensively. That being said, I hope the 8th graders, the 7th graders, the 6th graders, the rec department kids are watching this and want to come be a part of this, because that's where it starts.
Absolutely, man. Scotty, listen, best of luck Friday night. I'll see you at the stadium, man, and let's go get a win.
All I got to say after that is go Rebels.
Go Rebels. Thanks for calling, man.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Man, what a fun call that was. I've been waiting 30 plus years to have a call like that, and now we've got this growing show that's popular as all get out, and the Berrien Rebels have their first winning season since 1995. And man, that was just so fun to talk about. So fun to talk about. So anyway, hey, Rodney Nix, man, part of that Rebel Nation when I was in high school. You know, those were good old days, right? Rodney, since you're watching, I don't know if you remember this. I guess we're going down Rebel memory lane now tonight. But another quick story before we get into our playoff brackets. So we some of the things that coaches do, whether they're head coaches or assistant coaches, some of the things that coaches do to motivate their team and to get them fired up, thinking things differently, that kind of stuff. You know, I remember my senior season, we were 6-4, by the way, my senior season, 1987. So in my senior season, about halfway through the season, I can't remember what our record was halfway through the season, but our head coach, Bill McCall, we called him Wild Bill, but you know, he has since passed, and I owe a debt of gratitude to Coach McCall. He's one of the ones that were instrumental in introducing me to Jesus, especially after practice. And so Coach McCall was very, very instrumental in leading me to Christ. And I will always be grateful to him and his family for that. But man, he had this temper on a football field. And so about halfway through my senior season, he did not like the intensity of our practices. And so one day after practice, he was letting us know how dismayed he was about our lack of intensity, right? And so one of the things that he said, and I will never, ever forget him saying this, he says, what is it going to take to get you guys to fight somebody around here? It's like, everybody's staring at. He's like, we're all on one knee after a 3-hour long practice. Back in those days, I guess you could practice 3 hours. We're all just dog tired. And he's talking about what's it going to take to get someone to fight somebody around here. That was, nobody answered because we had no idea how to answer that question. He says, tell you what, Coach Hudson, and we had a defensive coordinator named Nate Hudson. That dude was crazy. But anyway, he had come up with this way. He and Wild Bill, they told us about this in the field house the next day as we were going through our weight training before practice. And they told all the players, it's like, for the rest of the week, during practice, at any time during practice, if Coach Hudson blows that whistle and he yells out blood, you find the next closest rebel and you start fighting. Rodney, I don't know if you remember those days, but now that I look back on it, those are crazy times. And we did that for the rest of the week. And we had little skirmishes break out all over the field. And so he made his point to step up our intensity. So sometimes coaches come up with the oddest ways to motivate their team. But I remember that. The word blood to this day has a different meaning for me. So he would just yell out blood, and you would find the closest rebel, and you would just knock down and throw out right there. Anything goes. It was WWE on the practice field of Berrien High School. So anyway, good times, good times. So it's the last week of the regular season. The last week of the regular season. As a football fan, you're either waiting to hear who your first round playoff opponent is going to be, or your team is fighting for a playoff spot. If you're a Berrien Rebel, if you're a Worth County Ram, a Cook, your team is fighting for a playoff spot, right? Yeah, Josh, like hit somebody. Exactly right. So anyway, or your team is basically done. They've been mathematically eliminated, and you're just going through the motions this final week, waiting to hand in your shoulder pads and your helmet, and you're going to hang it up. And unfortunately, this is the sad part. Unfortunately, if you're a senior and your team has been eliminated and it's the last game of the season, I mean, you have this sense of dread that comes on you, and mentally all week long. It's like, okay, you start out Monday morning, their practice, and you got, okay, I only got 3 practices left in my high school career, my football career. I'm never going to do this again because we've been eliminated from the playoffs. Then Tuesday rolls around, man, only got 2 more. Then Wednesday rolls around. It's my last practice because Thursday's a walkthrough, right? And Friday's the game. So when Wednesday morning hit, man, oh man, the feelings, the emotions that you're going through. In my senior year, we were one of those teams that we were fighting for a playoff spot. So the emotion hadn't set in yet that this could be my last practice. So that Wednesday morning is like, I'm stepping up extra hard today because, man, we're fighting for a playoff spot. This could be the last one. We don't know yet. So we roll into Bacon County in Alma, Georgia. They were in our sub-region. We were in sub-regions at the time. So each sub-region, 2 teams go, right? So we win, we're in. We lose, we're out. We lost that game to the Bacon County Red Raiders by 1 point that night. I still remember because I was playing defensive line for that game. So during my senior year, sometimes I would play linebacker, sometimes I'd play a nose tackle, a defensive tackle, whatever they needed me to play. When you're playing football in a small school, there's no telling what position you're going to play. They just stick you where you need you. And I was known as a kind of a bulldog. One of my nicknames back then was the neurotic dog. Coach Billy Bell nicknames me that my junior year. And so sometimes he would call me that, sometimes he wouldn't. But anyway, so that was the kind of personality that I had back then. So I still remember that last 2-point conversion that Bacon County running back ran through our line. I mean, he converted 2 points late in the game to go up by 1. And man, oh man. And then we lost that game. And then as I was walking back to the visitors' dressing room, it finally hit me. My football career is over. That was it. That was it. And that's when the emotion started to take over. And man, oh man, I was inconsolable that night. So if you're a senior, you're watching this, and you're playing for a playoff spot, man, give it 1,000% Friday night. If you're a Lowndes Viking, you've clinched a playoff spot. But if you beat Camden, you're the 3rd seed. If you lose to Camden, you're the 4th seed, and you got to go up to probably Carrollton in the first round. If you are a Berrien Rebel and you're a senior, you beat Fitzgerald, you're in. You lose to Fitzgerald, you're going to need some help. You're going to need the Cook County Hornets of all teams, your arch rival. If you're a Berrien Rebel, you're a Cook County fan Friday night. If Cook beats Worth County, then Berrien's in. If Worth beats Cook, then Berrien's got to beat Fitzgerald. I believe that's the way the math works. So anyway, good times. Let's get to some of these playoff brackets. Let's start out. We talked about the double A is down here. It hadn't been decided yet. So let me go ahead and bring up these 3A brackets. Check this out. Okay, so here's the 3A bracket, guys. This is pretty straightforward. We've got Region 1, 3A. These 4 teams down here. Apparently, their spots have already been decided. So you got I think on the right hand side. No, the left hand. Yeah, right. The left hand side of the screen. How about those Thomasville Bulldogs? Check that out. The Thomasville Bulldogs, after their crazy, terrible start of the season, right? But they played a tough non-region schedule, got them ready for the region, and then they blitzed the region. And now they're the region champs with a brand new head coach. So congratulations, I believe, to Coach DeLay. And so anyway, you got the second seed out of that region is going to be Carver Columbus over here. Okay. The third seed is, how about those Darty Trojans? Those Darty Trojans, man, you don't think of kind of like Bear. You don't think of them as a football powerhouse, right? But they're going to be the third seed this year. And then finally you have, this is kind of a surprising because I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can move some of that. Oops. Yeah, here we go. So you have the Crisp County Trojans, Crisp County Cougars as the 4th seed coming out of Region 1. Let's go to Class 4A. So the reason why I have some of these teams written in here, these are the teams that have already sealed their seedings out of their region. There's a lot of blank spaces there. That means that those regions are still unsettled. Now, it could be that the 4 teams might have been, have determined for the playoffs, but their seeding may not be determined yet. So that's why there's still a lot of blanks on this page. So the teams that we already know that have sealed their seeds for the regions, I've gone ahead and penciled them in. And I don't know if you like this new feature of our show, where we've got basically the dry erase board, and we're scribbling on the screen so you can see it. And man, I think it's a cool new feature. So we've got Benedictine is going to be your team 1 out of Region 3. Your team 2 is going to be Wayne County. How about those Yellow Jackets up there? Team 3 is Burke County. Man, how about those Burke County? Is that the Bears, I believe? But I believe their head coach is in the hospital because they just got through playing Wayne County. And their head coach, I believe, collapsed on the sideline during the game, was life-flighted to, I believe, a Savannah hospital and is recovering well. But man, oh man, what a scare for the Burke County Bears. So prayers go out for him and for that community over there. So the Burke County Bears, they're going to be the team 3 out of Region 3. Then you got New Hampstead, which is an upstart Savannah area team. They're going to be team 4 out of there. Is that where Coach Kyle Hockman ended up? I mean, he was a fantastic coach at McEachern for a long, long time. If you're a Lowndes fan, you certainly know who McEachern was, right? I believe he left the McEachern program, and I think he is the head coach at New Hampstead now. And how about New Hampstead? I mean, if that's Coach Hockman's team over there, man, that dude is a good coach. So I'm not surprised at all. So now you got Region 5, not Region 5, but Class 5A, right? So some of these teams are not familiar for us down here. You got team 1 is Northside out of Columbus, is going to be your number 1 seed out of Region 3. The team 2 is going to be Region 3. Team 2 is going to be Northgate, and I think those are the 2 teams that have been determined out of Region 3. The other 2 seeds wait for this final game. So down here in the lower right-hand side of the bracket, out of Region 7, you have Team 2. That's Cartersville. Cartersville has a strong team. They've got a new coach this year. Region 7, Team 4 is going to be Cass. Region 7, Team 1 is going to be Calhoun. They are a perennial powerhouse out of Class 5A. Class 6A. Now, there's a lot of blank spaces here, but there are 4 teams that have sealed their playoff seedings. Gainesville, I think they're the Red Elephants up there. Region 8, Team 1. Is that the team where Hoover's former coach went to. Is that Coach Niblett's new team? I think it is. The Gainesville, is that the Red Elephants? They beat Ware County, I believe, several years ago in the state championship game. So anyway, Region 8, Team 1, Gainesville is going to have that number 1 seed. You've got Region 8, Team 2, North Forsyth. Team 3 is Shiloh, and Team 4 is Lanier. Not Lanier County, but just Lanier High School. Now, I have stars next to 4 teams that you see on this chart. Okay, these are the Region 1 teams. Region 1, 6A. I want to draw your attention to this one and this one. Why is that? Because this Friday night, the region championship for 1-6A is on the line. And you probably know who it is by now, but I still cannot believe, and my super fan, Cole Moore, could not make the show tonight. I know it's probably eating him up, but man, he couldn't make the show tonight. But this Friday night, the Thomas County Central Yellow Jackets travel to McConnell Talbert Stadium up in Warner Robins to play the Northside Warner Robins Eagles. Can TCC pull it off? I don't know if you remember this, but just last year, they were a Class 4A team. And Ashley Henderson was their head coach. I think Coach Henderson had been there for 3 or 4 years. I think 4 years. I can't remember, but 3 or 4 years, I think. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out. He wasn't winning enough. And so they decided to move on. And Coach Henderson, I believe, has gone up to a school in the North Georgia area. So then we have some turmoil over in the Colquitt County for the Colquitt County Packers because Justin Rogers was the head coach. And from what I'm told, Justin Rogers wasn't fired, right? So from what I'm told, he was set to come back. But it was kind of suggested that he probably needed to move on. I think that's what I'm told. I think that's accurate. So then Thomas County Central opens up, and he applies for that. And I'm told that Alan Rodemaker, that was probably his destination. But then Justin Rogers enters the scene. And Justin Rogers, he says, okay, I think I want to coach that team. And TCC says, okay, we want you to. So they wanted each other, right? And so he becomes the new head coach. But then all of a sudden, he gets handed this deck of cards that says, you're no longer going to be, I don't know which one happened first. Did the reclassification already happen and then he was hired, or vice versa? I can't remember. But anyway, he's the head coach. And instead of being a 4A team, now he is going to be a 6A team. And not only a 6A team, but he is going to be in the same region as Lee County, Northside Warner Robins, Houston, Veterans, and Tift County. And Tift County being a former Region 1 7A team, everybody's thinking that they've got to be probably one of the favored teams to make at least the top 4 seeds, right? Wrong. That's just not how it played out. Somebody forgot to tell Justin Rogers and the Central Yellow Jackets that they were not going to have any chance in Region 1 6A. Somebody forgot to tell them that. Because here they are on the eve of a region championship. If they win, we get to pencil in TCC right there in Justin Rogers' first year, in Thomas County Central's first year in Region 1 6A. To me, he has got to be the leading candidate for Coach of the Year. I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel. Coach Shelton Felton has done a great job at Valdosta. Mike Coe has done a fabulous job at Coffee County. Tim Allagood has done a great job at Berrien. You got Byron Slack up there at Cook County. He's done a great job. But how about this? You take over a program that has been in the doldrums for the last 4 to 5, probably 8 years, something like that. You go in, you go from 4A to 6A, you get inserted into a powerhouse region, and all of a sudden you are on the eve of going 10-0. You're currently 9-0. You blitz the region. Last week, you take down a very, very good Lee County team that everybody predicted is a state title contending team. Why not? They built this reputation, deservedly so. Dean Fabrizio has done a great job, a fabulous job over in Lee County. As a matter of fact, before Fabrizio got to Leesburg, Lee County was a football nobody. They were a baseball school. So Fabrizio goes over to Lee County, turns them into a perennial power, whether it's 6A, 5A. We can't say they're in the Bush leagues or whatever, because they have beaten some 7A teams, right? They've beaten Lowndes a number of times. They've beaten Valdosta a number of times. They've beaten just about everybody except Colquitt County. I don't think they've ever beaten Colquitt County. But nonetheless, Dean Fabrizio has done a fantastic job. And then you got the Northside Warner Robins Eagles. They have this reputation of being a perennial powerhouse. They've fallen on some tough years in the last 3 to 5 years, right? Although they're starting to resurrect that program. Then you got Tift County. Tift County's been a head scratcher, but they have played well, and they come from Region 1 7A. So I consider them a football big boy, because in a couple of years, when 6A is going to be the top classification again, Tift County's 90% chance they're rejoining our region. It's a really good chance that we're going to have a pretty dynamic region in a couple of years. I'm talking loaded. But anyway, so this is and then you got Houston County that has a high flying offense. I mean, people were projecting that team to do really, really well in that region this year, and they have. And then you got this upstart Central Yellow Jackets with a first-year head coach that was basically asked to leave Colquitt County. Not officially, but unofficially. That's what I'm hearing, right? What a job Justin Rogers has done over in Thomasville. Man, oh man. Will Palmer, he is a Thomasville fan, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. He says that he gives credit where credit is due. TCC is playing out of their minds. That's a great way to put it, Will. They have a legit chance to win the state title. Now, there's always a chance, right? There's always a chance. I don't think it's going to happen, because they're going to eventually, if they're going to take the state title, eventually they're going to have to face Langston Hughes, and Langston Hughes is loaded. They really are. Langston Hughes, Class 6A is probably for the taking when it comes to Langston Hughes, but I would love to see that matchup, TCC versus Langston Hughes. Now, we have a long way to go before all that happens, right? If TCC gets the number 1 seed, they probably win, because now they're hosting a playoff game. And I think it's been 6 years. I think that's right. I think it's been 6 years since TCC has hosted a home playoff game. All right. So in the first round is probably TCC. Okay. Oh my gosh. That's terrible handwriting, Larry. What the heck, dude? So in the first round is probably TCC. I don't know who they're playing right now. I'll worry about all that later. The second round, being a number 1 seed, they get to host. Right now, I'm projecting right now that TCC, I think, will beat Northside Warner Robins. That's what my gut says. It's not a guarantee. They still got to play the game. Ben Beam is a big Northside fan. He says Northside's an underdog. Cal Preps has TCC picked to win. I think right now TCC is probably the legitimate favorite, even though it's going to be played at the MAC up there in Warner Robins. I think the Jackets, I think they've got what it takes to win. They've got a good defense. They've got an outstanding dynamic passing team with a very seasoned quarterback in Sam Brown, and they've got a pretty solid run game as well. So pick your poison. But I hear that Northside Warner Robins has a pretty stout defense. So that's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch. So who's it going to be? Is it going to be TCC? Or is it going to be Northside in that number 1 spot? It's going to be fun to watch. Going to be fun to watch. So let's go to 7A, Region 1 7A. This is where This is where, if you're a Lowndes fan, to me, guys, I don't know how to say this any other way. I'm always honest with you. I tell you everything that's on my mind, right? I try to be tactful with it as best as I can be, right? But if you're a Lowndes fan, I've been disappointed because I thought that we were no worse than a second seed team. And we came very close to being a second seed team. But I'm still disappointed. Now, it would help my feelings if Lowndes goes over to Kingsland on Friday night and beats Camden County, right? And takes the outright 3 seed away from Camden. That would be cool to watch. Travis Hart says, LG, it's crazy that Marietta will be a possible 1 or 2 seed with a 3-7 or 4-6. That is crazy, man. That's just the way it works sometimes with these seedings. The top 4 teams in your region, and each region gets to go. And man, oh man, it sounds like they just have a weak region up there this year. But it is crazy to think that. I remember a few years ago, we had some across the GHSA. We had some teams that were like 2-8 or 3-7 to play in the playoffs. To me, that's just crazy. It's just ludicrous. Kyle and Susan Richter. I think Kyle Richter is a big Colquitt County fan. He says, hats off to Justin Rogers. You're correct. He wasn't fired. He left on his own. His biggest downfall in Moultrie was 2 first-round losses in the playoffs, the second-round playoff loss to Parkview when he got boat raced in the second half. Plus, he didn't take time to get to know the community. Kids in most of the touchdown club administration had his back. He followed a legend, which is never good. Rogers, perfect fit at TCC, and Calhoun, perfect fit for Colquitt. Well said, man. Exactly right. Sometimes it's just not a good fit. Sometimes you shake hands, you're still friends, but you have to go your different ways. And for whatever, yeah, and I think Kyle, you hit the nail on the head. Justin Rogers was the guy that followed the guy. You guys know what I'm talking about, Rush Pros. He was the dude that followed the dude. And you never want to be that guy, right? You never want to be that, because when you're that guy that follows the guy, the fan base is not sold out for you because they want the guy. And so I just got this feeling that he was there, 3 or 4 years, Kyle? But the fan base just never latched on to Coach Rogers. Now, if you ask any TCC fan, they are sold out and all in for Justin Rogers. And who wouldn't be? He's 9-0. But when he was 3-0 and 4-0, that community, from the very beginning, since he got there, they were so hungry to win, and they saw his pedigree, what he did at Jones County, and for the most part, what he did at Colquitt County in the regular season. They saw that this guy was a winner, and they latched on. Remember those 4 pillars that I talked to Scotty Sumner with the Berrien Network about? TCC now has it in place. When Ashley Henderson was there, there was a deficiency in at least one of those pillars in community support. And as the years went on in the Ashley Henderson era, he started to lose administration support. And then some of the athletes started to lose some of their support. So anyway, Justin Rogers goes in there and he completely turns that program around, and they are firing on all cylinders. Now, is he going to lose some support if he goes up there and loses to Northside Warner-Robins? No, absolutely not. Because why? Because when he took over, the expectations for Thomas County Central were way down here because they just joined 6A from 4A. And they just came off of an awful season, or awful several seasons prior to him getting there. And so the expectations were super low, and he has exceeded those expectations by 5,000%. I don't know if I haven't done the math in my head yet. I don't know if 5,000% is the accurate number, but you know what I'm talking about. The guy's a winner, and he has gotten it done. Now, will he continue to win at that level? I don't know. You never can tell. Will Tim Allagood continue to win at Berrien now that he's raised the bar in Nashville? I don't know. The future is very hard to predict. Is Zach Grage going to elevate the Lounge program back to its former glory? I don't know. The future is hard to predict. You know, he's made the playoffs his first year, so I congratulate him for that. You know, I'm proud of the way that he's got these kids at Lounge fighting to the very end, even though they're behind, right? You know, in that Colquitt game, it was very easy for those kids to roll over, but they fought until the very end. And as a fan, that's all you can ask for. Although we do want some better results, right? A 5-4 season heading into your final regular season, yeah, that ain't gonna cut it. That ain't gonna cut it. But if we go third round, fourth round, yeah, that redeems the season, right? But my point is, Justin Rogers, I think, has got to be the leading candidate, in my mind anyway, the leading candidate for Coach of the Year, statewide, bar none. Bar none. I think he's done that good of a job. How can you argue with the results that he's got over there? All right. Now, there are some other good coaches that have done some amazing things, like Coach DeLay over in Thomasville. He's done a good job. Inherited a team when Zach Grage left to go to Lowndes. He took over late in the year, I think in the April timeframe when Grage came over here. So he took over a program, graduated a lot of kids, took a little bit of time to build up his team. But he's got those guys believing now, and they just blitzed this region, Region 1-3A, and now they're region champs over there. So anyway, Travis Hart, Travis, I think you're a Lowndes fan. Yeah. This year, Lowndes has been behind all year because of how late the coach. You're probably 100% right. You know, as a fan, and I've always billed myself as a fan, right? Fan first. As a fan, we understand the objective logic, but the emotion gets in the way because our team didn't perform like we wanted to perform. So objectively, you're exactly right. Is the team going to be a lot better next year? Absolutely. Still hurts our feelings, right? It does. I'm just being honest. Yeah, Ben Beam, he agrees with Coach Rogers, Coach of the Year, easy. Jeremy Edwards done a good job. Absolutely. He's done a good job at Houston. Listen, we got a lot of great coaches in this state. We really do. A lot of great coaches in this state. So our hour is up. So we're going to sign off. But before I go, you know, next week, we're going to have all these boxes filled in with the playoff brackets. We're going to break it down, each classification, that kind of stuff. So next week's show might go a little bit longer than we normally do. Sterling Hobbs, he's certainly a Lowndes fan. He says, must give the man time to get his system in play. Absolutely, Sterling. Absolutely. I was asked a couple of days ago about my thoughts on Zach Grage. I said, he's in the playoffs. How can you argue with that? He's in the playoffs. He started late, inherited a system that, he had to basically start over. So we're in the playoffs his first year. That's all we can ask for. Now, next year, the expectation goes a little bit higher as a Lowndes fan. You know, I'm certainly talking to other Lowndes fans out there. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'll talk about a lot more of that in detail on Thursday night's The Viking Nation live show. So anyway, Jerry Sanford, proud of number 4 for Lowndes. Absolutely. We should always be proud of our team, regardless, but always certainly proud for them making the playoffs. Should have had about 8 passing touchdowns the other night. You're probably right. We did have some drops. But, you know, that kind of stuff is fixable. So we'll talk about a lot of those stats Friday on Thursday night show, Jerry. So y'all stay tuned. Kyle Richter says, LG, there are still a lot of people in Colquitt that wanted Grage. The administration picked Calhoun, and most people in Colquitt would have been just as happy with Grage. Both are fine coaches. Absolutely. Both of them are very fine coaches. So I have no problem with Grage being at Lowndes right now, right? I'm just disappointed as a fan, not in him, but our team is we're not winning like we're used to. And listen, objectively, mentally, I know it's a process, and I'm trusting the process. But as a fan, you're still a little bit disappointed, right? We're just being honest about it. We're still a little bit disappointed in how the season turned out. Now, that can be totally reversed if we run the table and do super well in the playoffs. Anyway, so y'all don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm just talking about from a fan's perspective. So that's the show for tonight, guys. Congratulations to the Berrien Rebels. Congratulations to Scotty Sumner and the Berrien Network. You guys do a fantastic job, bringing the game every single week, whether it's live streaming video or your audio broadcast on the road. Good luck Friday night. I'll see you guys in Nashville. Go Rebels and go Vikings. We'll see you guys next week. Adios.